She was just a simple, kind-hearted woman, standing at the altar on what should have been the happiest day of her life. Surrounded by elegance and whispers of love, she never imagined the moment would be shattered not by fate, but by her own stepmother. In front of dozens of guests and under the glow of chandelier lights, a sharp slap stunned the bride into silence. It wasn't just the sting on her cheek, it was the pain of betrayal, of years of quiet endurance suddenly breaking into the open. The crowd froze, but one man didn't. Her new husband, a quiet billionaire known for his calm demeanor. Locked eyes with her trembling face, something in him changed. He had seen enough. The man who had built empires with quiet force stepped forward, not with anger, but with a power that made the whole room pause. As tension thickened in the air, no one knew what would happen next. But when he turned toward her family, especially the stepmother, it became clear this wasn't going to be ignored. What he did next would shock everyone and change everything. About the family she once thought she belonged to, her husband, Adrian, had never been the kind of man to raise his voice. He didn't need to. People listened when he spoke, not because of his wealth, but because of the way he carried himself, calm, precise, unshakable. But in that moment, as he stared at his wife's reddened cheek, a storm gathered behind his eyes. The guests, once murmuring in confusion, now stood still. Everyone could feel something bigger was about to unfold. What most didn't know was that this wasn't the first time her stepmother had crossed a line. For years, Elena had lived in silence, enduring the cold looks, the passive remarks, the way she was made to feel less in her own home. After her father's sudden passing, her stepmother claimed control not just over the house, but over every decision in Elena's life. Adrian had heard pieces of the story before, but she had always brushed it off with a sad smile, trying to stay strong. But now, right here in the middle of their wedding, the truth had shown its face, and Adrian wasn't going to let it go unnoticed. He looked toward her family, then simply said one line that made everyone's heart skip a beat. And then, silence. Adrian's voice cut through the heavy silence. Enough. It wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. His tone carried weight, and everyone felt it. Elena's stepmother, still standing tall with a fake smile, looked around nervously. She hadn't expected this. She thought Adrian, like most, would stay quiet, especially in public. But she didn't know Adrian's past. He had come from nothing, built his empire brick by brick, and had a deep respect for those who endured quietly. Seeing Elena humiliated was personal. Elena stood still, confused by what was happening around her. She had spent so many years keeping the peace, ignoring the little jabs and insults. Now, all eyes were on her. Part of her wanted to run, to hide from the attention. But another part, the part Adrian always believed in, was finally rising. Across the room, her half-sister Ava watched closely. She had always been jealous of Elena's inner strength, even if it was hidden under silence. Their mother's coldness had shaped them differently. Ava felt torn, loyal to her mother, but unable to ignore the truth unfolding. Guests began whispering, sensing the tension was more than just a single slap. They could feel old secrets floating just beneath the surface. Something deeper was coming. Adrian stepped forward, taking Elena's hand gently, his eyes never leaving her stepmother. "You've disrespected her for the last time," he said, his voice still calm but laced with warning. The guests shifted uneasily, some pulling out their phones, unsure if they were witnessing a scandal or something much deeper. Elena's heart pounded. She had never seen Adrian like this, not angry, but protective in a way that made her feel seen for the first time in a long while. Her stepmother, trying to recover her image, let out a small laugh. It was just a misunderstanding. "These things happen in families," she said sweetly, but her eyes were calculating. She didn't expect Adrian to challenge her publicly. But what frightened her most wasn't his well-think, was his silence. After that first sentence, because it meant he had already made a decision. From the back, Elena's aunt stood up slowly, her expression unreadable. "Maybe it's time the truth came out," she said, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads turned. Elena looked at her, confused. What truth? Adrian didn't flinch. He already knew at least some of it. The air in the room shifted. Secrets were crawling to the surface. And no one knew what would explode first. The room fell into a tense hush as all eyes turned to Elena's aunt. She slowly walked forward, her heels clicking against the polished floor, each step echoing like a countdown. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Her aunt had always been quiet during family gatherings, never getting involved. But now, something in her voice hinted she'd been holding back for a reason. "She never told you, did she?" Aunt said, looking directly at Adrian. "About the inheritance. About what really happened after Elena's father died." Elena froze. Inheritance. Her stepmother's face went pale, and Ava instinctively stepped back, confused. The guests, once only curious, now leaned in closer, some whispering, others simply stunned. Adrian's grip on Elena's hand tightened slightly. His gaze fixed on the older woman as if urging her to continue. "She was supposed to get everything," her aunt continued. "But someone changed the documents after the funeral. Someone made sure Elena never saw a single cent. And it wasn't an accident." Elena's world tilted. Her stepmother had always controlled the finances, but she never questioned it. She was grieving, too lost to care. But now it was becoming clear. Her silence hadn't just cost her peace. It might have cost her everything. And Adrian? Looked like he already knew who was behind it. Adrian turned slowly to Elena, his voice low but steady. "I had my legal team look into your father's will weeks ago." Something didn't add up. He paused, eyes locked with hers. "He left everything to you, Elena. Every property, every account, even the company shares. But someone filed a forged document days after he passed. That's how your stepmother took control." Gasps echoed through the hall. Elena's stepmother stumbled back a step, her composure cracking. "That's a lie," she snapped. But her voice wavered. Ava stared at her mother, eyes wide, trying to make sense of what she was hearing. Adrian nodded to one of his assistants, who stepped forward with a folder. "It's all here, verified, signed affidavits." The original will was hidden till now. He handed it to Elena, her hands trembling as she opened it. Tears welled in her eyes. "It was real. You stole everything from her," Adrian said, turning to the stepmother. "And then had the nerve to humiliate her on our wedding day." The room buzzed with murmurs. The truth finally exposed. But just as security was called to escort the stepmother out, Ava stepped forward. "Wait," she said quietly. "There's something else. I helped her forge it." The room fell into stunned silence as Ava's confession echoed. Her eyes brimmed with tears. But this time, they weren't from guilt alone, they were from years of silence, pressure, and confusion. "I didn't know what she was planning at first," she said softly. "I just wanted to be on her side. But I was wrong." Elena looked at her, torn between anger and sympathy. But Adrian, gently, squeezed her hand. "The truth is what matters now," he whispered. Within days, legal steps were taken. The forged documents were overturned, and Elena regained her rightful inheritance. Her stepmother quietly disappeared from public view, her actions exposed, and her power gone. Ava, facing the weight of her mistake, chose to cooperate fully and repair what she could. Elena, once the quiet woman no one took seriously, now stood confidently at Adrian's side, not because of money or revenge, but because she had finally reclaimed her voice. The wedding, once marked by pain, became the start of something stronger than anyone expected. In the end, it wasn't just about betrayal or secrets, it was about truth, courage, and the power of standing up for yourself, even when it's hard. And that was the real beginning of their new life together.